Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my epic rant on the 2018 film Twisted Pair. Now, before I send more salvos at this film, I want to give a special shout out to Mr. Anonymous for requesting this review. And if there's another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to my PayPal. The link will be in the video description down below, and I will try to get to it as soon as I possibly can. Now, Twisted Pair is a film, if I even want to call it a film, because 80% of the movie is stock footage, and another percentage of the film is just really piss-poor green screen effects, and some of the worst I've ever seen, and the bare minimum of a plot and characterization. But okay, alright, I guess you could technically call this a film. So it's a film directed by Neil Breen, who is a guy who seems to think that he's a brilliant, genius, visionary filmmaker, writer, actor, and producer. And the only thing the guy is capable of producing is shit. Because this film is absolute fucking shit to the highest degree. I mean, Twisted Pair was a terrible experience for me. It was torturous to sit through. The Twisted Pair might as well have been my nuts being twisted into two fucking pretzels, because it was that fucking painful of a film to sit through. And I gotta be honest, folks, this is, as of right now, the worst fucking film I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen Cannibal Terror, August Underground 1 and 2. I've seen some pretty bad films. I mean, there are people who've probably seen worse films. I know one of my good friends has seen more bad movies than I have, but when it comes to my list of bad films, this now is taking the top spot. Because even some of the worst films that I had seen prior to this, they have more cohesive plots. They have more going for them in terms of the cinematography or the editing or some of the other aspects of the production. I mean, Neil Breen is such a horrible filmmaker, writer, and actor and producer. He has given me newfound appreciation for people like Fred Vogel. Like, I thought Fred Vogel was one of the worst, but now I'm like, hey, you know what? Fred Vogel actually made an authentic-looking fake snuff film in August Underground. He actually is a pretty decent makeup effects artist. He has talent. Not a whole lot of it, but a lot more than anything Neil Breen has to offer. Uwe Boll. He's directed a couple films that were actually decent. So I gotta say that he's definitely a much better filmmaker. Tommy Wiseau. Yeah, he's not great, but he's Stanley fucking Kubrick in comparison to Neil Breen. Any other bad filmmaker that I can think of, Uli Lommel. At least he did The Boogeyman, and that's better than Twisted Pair. I mean, the list goes on. Ed Wood, he's an excellent filmmaker in comparison to Neil Breen. Because, yeah, Plan 9 for Outer Space is a bad movie, but that's one that I can actually have fun with and watch and be entertained by. Because there still is somewhat of a plot. There's still some reason to kind of give a shit about what happens. And it's also a film from way back in the day. You know, back in, I believe, like the 50s or 60s. And it's one of those things where, okay, yeah, it's bad, and the production values are cheap, but there's a certain amount of charm to them that this film doesn't have. Because it's just really bad green screen effects and stock footage. Now, the film was directed by Neil Breen, and I'm getting a headache just thinking about his direction in this film. So many of the shots are just static. They are unmoving. They are like fucking statues. They don't move. There's no flow visually to his direction. There are times where it seems like the film is stopping. Like there's something wrong with the file. But no, it's just the way that he directs. I mean, right from the opening credits, or actually right from the logo for his production company, you know that something is off, because this is really slow, monotonous shot of like the Earth spinning, and it might as well be spinning in slow motion, and then it's like a Neil Breen production or whatever, and then the film starts. And I don't even know if it's started because it's so slow. And it doesn't get any better because there's all these scenes that just drag and don't really have any kind of good movement to them. Like, they're about as backed up as somebody's constipated asshole. I mean, I don't understand why he directs his films like this. There are a lot of these scenes that repeat themselves, or sequences that don't really feel like they're in the right order. Any of the action sequences, whatever action that exists in this movie, are shot in ways that are just completely lethargic. There's no adrenaline. There's no anything. There's nothing to those scenes. I mean, most of it is just stock footage anyway of soldiers and Neil Breen superimposing himself in the background of the footage. Or moments where he makes stuff explode with a cheap After Effects explosion that you could probably get for cheap right now and put into a YouTube video. I could probably find an After Effects explosion and do the same fucking shit. And I'm not going to call myself a filmmaker. I'm not going to subject people to my films if I decided to do that, because I know better. I'm not going to subject people to that fucking pain and torture, because nobody needs to sit through that shit. And there's other stuff where he'll just have these shots that are confusing, where you're like, okay, what is this? Who is this? Oh, there's a shot of like a hand that's bloody grabbing some diamonds. I guess it's the bad guy. But I only figured that out after I looked it up online and checked the fucking synopsis. Otherwise, I was like, who the fuck is this? Whose hand is this? So... yeah, the direction is just a disaster. The screenplay, God, I don't even know what the fuck happened in this movie. I know there's something to do with twins. You have these two twin brothers named Cade and Cale. They get abducted by aliens. They get experimented on by these aliens. They're turned into these superhuman beings with superhuman intelligence and abilities and strength and so on. They're sent on these missions. One of the brothers, I guess, fucks up and then he gets his powers or his abilities taken away. Then the other one is still a part of the system. The brother that has powers taken away, he's living on the street. He's not necessarily living on the street, but he's living with this other woman who's like a druggie, and he's like supplying the drugs for her. And I think there's something to do with him like torturing people in like a basement or some shit. I could be getting him confused though with his other brother. It's really easy to get confused with this script, because it's a fucking mess. And it's a story that's so uneventful and so uninteresting and so convoluted and crack-brained that there's no reason to be invested in anything. I mean, I got like halfway through this film until I was like, I can't fucking take this, man. It's gonna break me. It's gonna give me a fucking mental breakdown. So I broke out my cell phone and started scrolling through social media. It's not like I missed anything anyway, because it's not like there's really that much there when it comes to this fucking plot or this script. There's no reason to care about these two brothers. There's no reason to give a shit about what their mission is. There's no reason to care about whether or not one of the brothers gets double-crossed by his lover, who apparently is into masochist shit because she likes getting hit for whatever reason. There's no reason to really care about the villain, who's this fat ass with a deep voice that sounds like he's in witness protection or some shit, or he's on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries trying to protect his identity. I mean, I'm hearing stuff about a mission, stuff about there's some kind of evil force, and one of the brothers is trying to stop it. But what you see in the film, it doesn't seem like he stops anything. Like, he just causes these explosions. I'm going to end it. And then all he does is like cause these explosions that don't cause any damage. They don't do anything. And he does this stuff where he like hacks into a computer. And I don't even fucking remember what the hell he did. I'm just going to go through the plot on Wikipedia because I'm sorry. Like, I don't remember anything. I can't even make heads or tails out of what I saw. So you have Cade and his identical twin brother Cale. They're abducted by an unknown power, modified to become humanoids, secret agents who are out to stop evil. Cale didn't fit in with the program, and he was fired. Cade, as an adult, is introduced on a mission where he's protecting troops. He returns to headquarters and meets with his boss, who suggests that he take a vacation. Cade laments not having seen his brother since before he became a humanoid. Oh yeah, because there's a lot of dialogue where he's like, I miss my brother. I love my brother. And I miss him. I'm not even making up the cadence either when it comes to Neil Breen's acting. That's exactly the way that he acts in this film. Like he is an actual alien from outer space, or he is some kind of humanoid. Cale meets with a lawyer and an executive of the president of the bank, interrogates them, then he shoots one of them in the leg, and then leaves to do pills with his girlfriend. I mean, is Neil Breen on pills? That would explain a lot. To be honest. Cade's boss tells him about programmable virtual reality. Yeah, because there's a lot of dialogue that sounds scientific, but it's a bunch of bullshit. You know, that kind of thing, where it's just pseudoscience bullshit. Like, it sounds like it's clever or it's intelligent, but it's just a bunch of made up nonsense. Like some guy named Kuzix, who's going to use the virtual reality to conduct the biggest cyber and terror attack ever. Cade decides to investigate. He then bumps into some woman named Alana, offers to buy her a drink. She says she's busy. Cade then attempts to make a date with the woman. Then he follows her home. He breaks into their house. They fight. And then they stop fighting abruptly, which is really awkward. Fucking... what is it? Cade? Yeah, Cade hits her over the head with a painting really slowly. Imagine this is the painting. And he's just like... And then... It's just... This fucking slowly over the head with the painting. Then she's like, oh. And he's like, oh. Something about like, oh, hi, honey, or whatever. And they're like, oh, da-da-da-da-da. Or, I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact specifics because that's how I'm able to save what's left of my sanity. Cade breaks into a Kazakh's lab, finds clues, finds 4 guys wearing VR goggles. They're in a trance. The next room, there's an old guy. These men disappear. Cade reports this disappearance to his boss. Cade takes Alana to dinner. Some mysterious man stabs Cade's homeless friend, takes his cell phone. Cale tracks down and murders a rich executive, but the police find no evidence because Cale picked up the shell casings. He did drop a syringe, which might as well have been full of more drugs, because that's precisely where the genesis of this film's script probably came from, is just whatever drugs Neil Breen shot up his ass. So Cade pretends to be some rich guy, wants to give money to the Kazakh Empire, gets him a tour of the house. Donna breaks up with him, runs into Cade, wants more drugs, confuses him for Cale. He gives the girl some money to find a place to stay. Alana sees and gets jealous. Cade then decides to take the Kazakh's empire. Destroys the empire with really cheap-looking CGI explosions. Kazakhs flees the country. Cade goes home and Lana pulls a gun on him. Then there's the twist that she's been working for the bad guy the entire time. They shoot each other in the virtual reality forest, because that's a thing. I mean, the film opens up with a scene in the virtual reality forest. Cade and Alana reunite. They embrace, and Alana tells him that she loves him, and then he disappears. The film then ends with Cade addressing us, talking about the loss of Alana, saying that humanity will eventually live in a virtual universe. And then there's like stuff before the end credits where it's like, Cade Altair will return. I'm like, please don't. Oh, but that he already is, because I think there already is going to be a Twisted Pair 2. That's the only way I was able to make sense out of any of this, is thanks to somebody's translation on Wikipedia, because otherwise I couldn't fucking even fathom, or let alone begin to describe to you what happened. And there's other stuff too, like there's a scene where he like looks at like a painting or something, and like it has eyes, and like it starts looking at somebody. Sorry, like I'm there's just something that's like in the fucking corner of my goddamn vision. Neil Breen, get the fuck out of here. God damn it, Neil Breen. Get out. You've annoyed me enough. Speaking of Neil Breen, might as well talk about the performances of the cast. Neil Breen is just unbelievably atrocious. He's such an atrocious actor and performer. He has no ability to convey a legitimate human emotion. No wonder people have called him an alien. Because I would buy it. I miss my brother. I love my brother. I loved Alana. I miss her. I never had a beard. I mean, God damn it. The fuck? And he's playing like the dual role. He's playing both twins. And he doesn't have them do anything where they separate each other in terms of their personality or anything. One of them just has a beard that's fake as fuck. That's the only thing that he does in terms of differentiating the two performances. You also have Siohbun Ebrahimi, who plays Donna, Kale's palehead girlfriend. She's just as bad as Neil Breen. No! I don't want to see you anymore. I don't want to be with you. Sara Meritt is Alana, Cade's girlfriend. She's pretty bad. She's awful. Denise Bellini plays the agency director. I've got a mission for you, Cade. Marty Dasis plays an executive and a soldier. Brad Stein plays another detective. John Smith Burns plays some other guy. Greg Smith Burns plays Cuzzix, the bad guy. There isn't a single performance worth of shit in this entire fucking movie. No one even delivers an average performance. Everyone is fucking abysmal. Then you have the cinematography, which is also by Neil Breen and John Mastro Giacomo. It's a mess. It looks like shit because so much of it is so fake and obviously behind a green screen or just stock footage, and nothing is done to make it look any different than just the way stock footage looks after you buy it from Shutterstock. The music is also by Neil Breen, and it's so repetitive and annoying, and I don't honestly even believe that he did the music. He probably just found free music on YouTube or some shit. He found some royalty-free music. Sounds like the type of stuff you would hear in a trailer or in the background in somebody's YouTube video. And there's only like 2 different tracks, and they repeat again and again throughout the entirety of the movie. And they're not catchy. They don't really add a whole lot to scenes. Sometimes they take away from them because you have this epic trailer music in the background and it's just Neil Breen walking around with a thumb up his ass. He also produced the film because somehow he got funding for this shit. I'm pretty sure a majority of the budget just went into buying all the fucking stock footage for this film. And speaking of stock footage, I'm just going to go on a rant about the stock footage. I mean, the movie opens up with stock footage of 2 twin boys. It's painfully obvious that it's just stock footage. And you have Neil Breen narrating over the stock footage. This is his attempt to try to make it his own. I'm not shitting you when I say that this film is like 80% stock footage, which is why I can barely even call it a film, because most of it is fucking stock footage. It's not anything that he shot himself. Then you have the scene that's repeated numerous times. Well, at least it's repeated twice. Okay, you see the scene twice, and there's no variations of it either. It's the same fucking scene where he's supposed to be petting an eagle on a post, but because he's such a fucking incompetent Nimrod of a filmmaker and a producer and a performer, and just so out of touch, period, with reality, he is not even touching the eagle. Like, it's all stock footage, and he's behind a green screen, but he's like, he's supposed to be like petting the eagle. Oh, exposure to nature. It was something like that, and he's petting the fucking post. He's not even close to the eagle. And he thought that was a good enough scene that he had it in the film twice. There's also repeated bad effects, not just the explosions, but also stuff where he leaps. He jumps off some kind of platform and lands to the ground. And it's just bad Photoshop or just bad After Effects of he leaps, he disappears, then he reappears on the ground. He does that multiple times. There are numerous shots of him in more stock footage with a green screen where you have these doctors who are looking at these CGI screens and they're like touching them, and you could tell that it's just stock footage and he just bought some other effects pack from some kind of source online and he just threw it in there and he's just standing there while the doctor's going like this. You know what the doctor should have done? Instead of him like poking at the screen and poking at the touchscreen stuff, should have just been like, fuck you, fuck yourself. Oh man, so much stock footage. Even the scenes that he's shooting that aren't stock footage, most of them are just from the same place. There's one shot of him like just sitting in an empty auditorium, and I'm like, that's a perfect representation of the audience for the premiere of your piece of shit movie. It was just you. It was just Neil Breen by himself in the theater, while his film was shown in one theater in the middle of fucking nowhere. But yeah, you've got these repeated bits that just aren't interesting. He shoots in an alley that's not even a fucking alley. You have other shots that are clearly just a photo, like not even stock footage at this point. It's clearly just a static photo of like a bunch of pipes or some shit, and then he green screens himself into it. Speaking of pipes, I mean, I want to take a pipe and I want to beat this movie over the fucking head with it for wasting my goddamn time and my brain cells. I hate this. I hated this fucking thing. I hated it so goddamn much. And I mean, yeah, there's just so much of the film that either doesn't make any sense or what you can make sense out of doesn't compel you. It doesn't grab you. I do not find films like this entertaining, no matter how bad they are. Because with a film like Megaforce, which I think is a guilty pleasure of mine because it's a pretty bad film, I can still watch that and enjoy it because it has a plot. There are characters I kind of don't mind. And there's more to it creatively. And there is a budget behind it. This is a low budget, might as well be micro budget, or just nano budget, or no budget kind of film, because so much of it is stock footage and green screen effects with dialogue that's completely fucking nonsensical or boring, characters that are unlikable and completely alien, a direction that is just completely lacking any dynamic. And it's not just the direction, it's the direction of the film. Like, there's no dynamic to the direction of the film either, in terms of where it's going. It's just heading face first into a fucking brick wall. And it knows it. And it's still hitting that brick wall. Despite all the warnings, despite all the signs that say don't hit the fucking brick wall, you dumbass, still hitting the brick wall. The performances, they're abysmal. They are worse than high school theater level kind of performances. Yeah, it's a incredibly incompetent film in every single fucking fashion. It is kind of impressive in hindsight that Neil Breen, let alone anyone, is as incompetent when it comes to filmmaking, writing, acting, and producing, and any other form or facet of filmmaking. But that doesn't mean he's got talent. Neil Breen has no fucking talent. He's talentless. He's terrible. Twisted Pair is an absolutely atrocious, pathetic fucking film. If you enjoy this and get a laugh out of it, be my guest. I don't get it, because to me there was nothing funny about this. And he's not a brilliant troll either. This is a guy who legitimately thinks that he's some kind of brilliant genius filmmaker who knows how to write films, knows how to direct films, and is a good enough actor to star in films. And he's none of those things. This is all sincere. And I know for some people they think, oh, that's what makes it so good. Not to me. Because the work of a fucking hack is still the work of a hack. I don't care if it's sincerely incompetent. It's still incompetent. And hard to watch. Even in bad films, I look for some sort of competence. This doesn't have any competence whatsoever. So that's why it is, as of right now, the worst film that I've seen to date. Because I can't think of a single thing when it comes to this movie that was good, let alone adequate, or let alone worth a shit. I mean, the direction was bad, the writing was bad, the acting was bad, the effects were bad, the music was bad, the editing was bad. Everything about this fucking film was bad. So, yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing else, folks. Anyway, thank you for watching my epic rant and my attempt to make sense out of the crack-brained bullshit that is Neil Breen's Twisted Pair.